Yo, live on YouTube. All right, so we'll call our meeting to order. It's 7:04. We'll start with it. Did you guys all get a chance to review the minutes? You guys just want to table it to next week?
I personally read them, but
Yeah, you guys are good then? So we can vote on them?
Yep.
Do I have a motion? Thank you, Tor. Second.
Second.
Joe, thanks. Or Wanda. The only thing I saw was on page 2, second paragraph. It says the needs of staying healthy will made the meeting possible. I think it's supposed to be make. Other than that, everything looks good. Anybody else?
I don't have anything.
All right, great. All in favor then? Passes 5-0. I got a hand here somewhere. All right. Ben sent out some minor changes. I don't know if you guys got to see those. One was on the life safety section with just some wording changes. I met with Clayton Thursday, and we just ran through it. So it's underneath section C, authority. The only thing that changed was the last word is now standards. Before it was ordinances, but we don't have any ordinances for life safety.
You want me to show it on screen, Brian?
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's this section right here, or standards.
Yep. And the other section was part D, section 2. We kind of copied the same language from C and put it down in number 2 there, just for, so he's going after the, what is it? Municipal, state, federal laws or standards. And the only other thing we changed is right there in the first sentence, life safety officer shall refer. So that should be 2 NFPA 101. Before it said shall use. So it should be reference. I'm sorry. It says shall reference the. So. And the other changes, I don't have them right up in front of me. It was pulling up what he said.
I think it was
update the table of contents. All right. And he added the word B in Article 5, Section 2G1 to read the exterior fire escapes shall not be permitted on new buildings. And I believe that is it. You guys good with that?
Yep.
Are the final changes to this? So we should probably make a motion on approving this as written. And this is the final done official copy.
moved.
All right, thanks, Joel. Rob? All right, any discussion on it? All in favor? Passes 5-0. My background, my hand keeps disappearing. All right, the only other thing we want to discuss is I'd like to hear your comments about Thursday night. I know you missed a wonderful show, Wanda.
I'm sorry. Life's just incredibly crazy. And the ironic thing is it's going to calm down about the time the vote happens. So
Right.
until then, my life is a little crazy.
Yep. So were there any questions we wanted to answer from Thursday night that didn't get answered, or a general discussion on how the meeting went? You guys take on it. Wanda, go ahead.
Can you just give a little overview on how it went? Just a real brief overview since I missed it.
Well, sure.
I can guess, but.
Sure. It started with people just against COVID, meeting during COVID, having this public meeting. But I am going to throw a little, my comment in, something I found out after our meeting Thursday night, was that 2 of the people that got up and spoke against having this public town meeting during COVID were both at a Republican Party fundraiser with what the paper said had 120 people in it. And the pictures I saw, they weren't social distancing or wearing face masks. So I don't know why it's good to have that was okay a month ago, but our meeting Tuesday night is not with them. You know, that to me is just reads totally political. So So that was our first, what, 45 minutes of the meeting, maybe? And then from there, we went, we had residents get up and actually talk about the code. Another thing that did come out of the code is one of the residents got up and was talking about the new roads and driveway ordinance. And the paper she had that she was reading from, which she thought was the ordinance and thought came from our website, was not. It was somebody else's notes. But she was reading notes with words we would never put in any ordinance, you know, and claims. So it took us a while to figure that out, that she was reading, she did not have our correct ordinance. I believe, did she come on Saturday?
She did.
She did.
Yeah.
So she's good now. She understands it better. Some of
Yes.
what she was reading was true because it was excerpts from an ordinance, but then there was somebody else's notes on there for how they thought it affected things. So there's some misleading information out there right now, which I don't think helps us or our residents trying to understand this code. My personal opinion, I won't say it was a good meeting. In my 10 plus years in the board, it's probably the second worst one I've been to. So I don't think it went well. I'm not sure how you guys took it. You know, Jordan
Well, it's
Roberts.
the worst one I've been to. In the 9 weeks that I've been doing this. So
Right.
I can say that much.
Joel, what do you think?
My skin's gotten thicker in the 5 years I've been on the board. So yeah, I mean, it rolls off a little easier, but it was bad. I think the most disappointing thing for me was that I think there's a person or a group of people out there that are passing around information that's not only just misleading, but it's actually wrong. And my first encounter with it was the Saturday that I did. We had a landowner come in who owns Exact Dispensing, and they had a very detailed list of concerns that they thought this new code was gonna cause them to do. And it was nothing that they had looked up. It was something that someone had sent them about their property, saying, if this code passes, you're going to have to change the pitch of your roof. You're going to have to do all these things. And it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't just misleading, it was wrong. And so we spent probably 30 minutes just going through the code with them and showing them that everything that they were concerned about was actually not the case, and that they actually had more possibilities to expand their business versus the other way. So I'm a little concerned about that. And it seemed like at that meeting there were a lot of people with similar concerns that weren't really based on the code. They were based on a skewed interpretation, is what I would call it. That's not at all. It's not an interpretation of the code. It's not anything. It's literally just like it doesn't represent what the code actually says. So I'm a little concerned about that, just from the standpoint of having voters informed. And it's all the more reason to have this meeting the way we're doing it, so that if there are further disruptive things that are passed around that don't represent what's actually written, that we have the chance to make people understand that that's not what's actually in the code. So that for me made it the worst meeting I've ever been to, because I think that's the lowest bar you can hit, is to try and deceive people, you know.
And I'd add, I think the good news was that, again, in the case of the property owner who had the misinformation about driveways, she came in and spoke with Tor and me and Ben on Saturday, and we were able to show her what the code said, and she understood and didn't have any concerns. And so that was really helpful that we were able to do that. It's hard to do that with everyone, because not everyone comes in. But it's encouraging that when we do have the opportunity to show people, that they're very supportive.
Right, but we're not getting everybody that way. You know?
No, again, as Joel said, that's why we really need to do this in person. And if someone comes with a genuine concern or question, we can respond to it and most likely explain that even if the code says they can't do something one way, there's going to be another way that they can achieve what they need.
Wanda.
I've had the opportunity to talk to a couple of people that called me over the weekend, and I've called them back since I've been home. And, and their big beef was, it's hundreds of pages long, and, who has time to read that? You only, really, if it's more than 3 or 4 pages, then, who's going to read it? And what was really nice was that I could say, where you live, you can basically go to the website, look up your area, and in 2 pages, you can really get a gist of what you can do, what your setbacks are, what you can build, what you can do. And she was like, one of them was like, oh my God, well, I'm going to go look at that. And I get the sense that she's going to like spread the word when she does. Because I'm thinking she might have been speaking for more than just herself. What's sad is I kind of feel like we're repeating 2 years ago when, we kind of got sabotaged in the last little bit from misinformation. And maybe, just maybe, as much as this is going to be challenging, we at least have the opportunity to answer questions before they vote versus, and that's what I said to her when she was one of them, the last one I just talked to. And she said, well, you could go to vote. And I said, but then people go and just like you don't have any idea what it is and you're going to vote yes or no. Isn't it better to at least, have an idea of what you're voting on? And I think she went away feeling pretty good that, she could go look in a very few pages and find something out and then make a good decision on that. So I'm hopeful that I made a difference, but who knows?
Right. So everybody's still set to charge forward and do this Tuesday. There is no second thoughts about delaying or putting it to a referendum vote in November. Tor?
Yeah, I just want to point out today, Wiscasset just had a special town meeting, 156 people there. So I don't know the details how they pulled that off, but there's other towns doing this. I didn't, like I said, it was a picture. I didn't get a chance to dive into it, but 156 is 156.
Right.
I think I still have reservations, but I also think that we've come up with ways, with the FM option of people, being able to sit in their cars and be safe and, sport our mask and, keep our distance and do the best we can. I mean, we all go to the grocery store, we all, even though we don't do everything, we're all going somewhere. And Lincoln County is pretty safe right now.
Right. We also, sorry, John. Ben is also putting together a phone system so that people sitting in their cars don't have to try to get our attention. They can call in. It'll be an 866 number, I believe. They can call that from their cell phone. It'll be answered. They can ask their question and hear their answer back over the radio. So I think that's just one more step to keep our residents even safer. So now we don't have to walk to them, try to get a note, with their written question or anything like that, they'll be able to call in and do it. So, go ahead, John.
Well, I was just going to add some color to what he had found, because we've received a number of calls after last meeting and after the public hearing. I'm not talking about 20, 30 people. I'm talking about, 5, 7 people, several of them calling, multiple times. And so, we've a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about the method of voting and the lack of information available on this. And we've, we've done more to talk about, in terms of the office's ability to spread information. We've done more on this than we've done on anything we've done probably in the 4 years I've been here combined. Now, maybe I think having said that, there's a lot of things that I'm going to take in terms of lessons, in terms of what we need, in terms of our ability to get our message out. I had a chance to talk with JW Oliver on Friday to talk about what's missing, because there were a number of comments made at the public hearing about why don't we know about this? Why isn't it in the Lincoln County News? And the problem is the press is to be made aware that the meetings occur. They're not compelled to write about what we talk about. And, talking about code discussions is not exactly, fires and police and courts. I mean, that's what people read in the newspapers. Fortunately, when we get in this situation, it's very difficult because then those who do read those other sections aren't aware and aren't spreading, conversation. So I think it's been a challenge on that aspect to it, because though we're using all the traditional means that we have available to us, probably aside from mailing, which is really the one avenue we haven't sent anything out yet, we've used every other avenue that we have available to us at this point. And clearly that there's a missing gap there in what we're able to reach out to. So that's something that we need to, I think, look at, and I'm going to look at certainly, is whatever happens here next week or 2 weeks or a month, in terms of what we have to do to reach out to people, because it's, I haven't posted to the website as much as I have in the last month. It's been tremendous. Facebook, YouTube. I mean, we've been doing it all, and it's for some it's just not hitting. So we got to figure out why we're not getting to those folks. But to the other point, the tourist point, Michelle spoke with Wisconsin's town clerk today about the town meeting they had with 147 people. So that was a situation where they had the community center used. They put a number of 50 people in the gym at the community center, and then broke up in different pods throughout the remainder of the facility. The comment from Wisconsin's town clerk is, I can't believe that anyone's concerned about this because it's outside. But that everyone's got their own thing in terms of how they're viewing it. Certainly, Dan Riscotta has had a special town meeting last week. No members of the public showed up, but so that's not really an apples to apples comparison. But there are special town meetings occurring. They're going on. Things are occurring, and towns are making decisions. But obviously, this is a different dynamic. So that's just kind of where we are. The changes we've made. The warrant hasn't been posted, so now everything is official and locked in until Tuesday night. And then the decisions will be made. We're still working on our protocols. We're going to probably need some volunteers to make sure people are parking in the right places, to make sure the phone system's working. Michelle and Shelley will be working on checking people in and trying to work through the logistics of these things. There's a lot of logistics involved with this situation. Joel, I'm going to be talking to you probably about lights, because I know you were able to help in that regard. Bob does not have any lights. He thought he had a few, but he doesn't. So we're going to, whatever we can come up with is what we're going to have. And the FM transmitter came today, so I haven't had a chance to tinker with that. But we've got, so we're, in terms of planning and preparation, we're ready. I think it's really more of a question of who's involved. And I guess one of the things in terms of a conversation I've had is there were people saying, I wish I could absentee vote for this. Not really indicating which side necessarily they would have voted, but I wish I had an opportunity to cast an absentee ballot, because I can't be in town, or there's the safety issues. But I spoke with someone today who wanted to participate, but simply can't. They won't be in the state at that time. So that's where we are.
Wanda, did you have your hand up?
No, sorry.
That's right. Yeah, because that was the only other big comment we got Thursday, was people telling us they didn't know anything about this or just heard about it. Which to me was a little shocking. We've been talking about it for 6 years, and we've had every meeting for the past 2 months. We've been discussing this. Paper hasn't covered it much, but John said, our website, Facebook, emails have been going out consistently for the past couple months about this. So I don't know what else we could do to get to people. And What do you guys think? I know we discussed a little bit about the question for Tuesday night. Not to change it, but just, of course, we can't change it. But do a emailing or get an explanation up on the website that's a little, explains the question a little better. So it's already understood and it's something we can give out Tuesday night too. You know, John, you mentioned you might work on something like that this weekend or get to it. Just a quick explanation of how the question stands or what it really says or means.
Yeah, I've talked with our direct mail folks who are tax billing, and they're prepared to do whatever we wish. I guess the question is how much of an explanation. I mean, we can quite easily on the back of a postcard put the question and a brief description of what that entails. But if we want to go beyond a brief description of what that entails, we're going to have to do a different type of mailing. So I guess the question is how much information and how do we, I mean, we can get that out this week easily before the weekend. I think there's some definitely there's some miscommunication and lack of understanding of what the question is. Tor and Rob had a sit down with some folks last week, and I kind of came out and talked with them as well. And I think the question was, even though having the opportunity to discuss it, I think being able to walk in and have some understanding of what this entails would make the conversation go a little bit easier to start. But I guess my question to you all is, how much information do you want to share ahead of time?
Joel?
I'm going to quote a select person from our last board and say, you know, sometimes if you stare in that mud puddle too much, you get lost. And so this might be a situation where rather than staring into that mud puddle and creating something very complicated to say, here's a complicated question. Here's an even more complicated answer to that complicated question. So if you weren't confused before, you're going to be confused now. I think if we put in that mailing with the tax bills, just something that said there's a special town meeting, you know, just describing what we're doing. We don't have to actually put the question on there because the question itself is the part that's a little bit confusing because of the legal mumbo jumbo. But if we just said, this is, you know, come vote on, you know, the new land use ordinance. And that's all we have to say. You know, we keep it very simple. And that way, when people come in, they know what they're voting for and not, here's something confusing, here's something even more confusing. So if we just, I think just getting the word out is it's not a bad way. So if we kept the dialogue very simple in that, that might work.
Good, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to say that we're doing two things. We're breaking apart the old ordinance and we're replacing part of it with the new code. So I kind of think that if you just say we're doing one piece and then they see that language, that I agree, simplicity.
If we can simplify it.
But I think we need to at least fundamentally get across the message that we're doing two things. We're taking the current ordinance, which has everything in one, and we're breaking it into multiple ordinances. At the same time, we're replacing the zoning code part with the new core zoning code.
Right, Tor?
Yeah, one of the confusions that I heard more than a few times was when they looked at the question, and I would hand somebody the question and say, this is the, you know, this is the question that, you know, we're going to be voting on at the warrant. They were confused about whether all of the replace language about all of the modules from the existing ordinance, do they have to vote on each separate item on those? So I think it's also should be clear that this is one vote. It's you know, it's just a yes or no on this whole package deal. It's not a itemized vote.
Right.
I'm glad to try to do something simple as I can, but sometimes brevity is not my best trait in terms of writing. So, I mean, I'm certainly glad to give it a shot. If someone else feels like they could get to the heart of it in a a sentence or two, I'm certainly glad to get out of the way. So just I think if we're going to do it, we would need to put something together tomorrow, I guess is my thought.
Well, Rob's answer, it's the same thing we said Thursday night. It's pretty basic. We're replacing the zoning section of the code, and we're going to make the other, however many there are, 5, 6, 7 of them, just standalone. So I don't think it's much more basic than that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's standalone and there's no changes to them at this point. We're not changing those. And I think that's important because we're not, they might be thinking they're voting on something that we're changing the short, whatever. And we're not. We're only changing the code.
Right. Yeah, just add that, these are all staying as is, just becoming standalone ordinances. So.
So,
Anything
John,
else?
I mean, if I'm inspired, I can't promise, but if I'm inspired tonight or tomorrow morning, first thing, I'll try to come up with something. But if anybody else is interested in backing me up,
Happy to review. Whoever does it first, happy to review.
all right.
Yeah. All right, so we're good with the discussion of the public hearing. So moving forward this week, Tori, you still doing Tuesday and Thursday?
I am, yes. Yeah, where are we? Tuesday's tomorrow, right? Yep.
Yep. All right. So we've got pop-ups by appointment for Tuesday and Thursday from noon to 1. Wanda, you and Ellen are going to do Wednesday night,
Yep, 6 to 8.
6 to 8 Wednesday night at the town office.
Yep.
You guys think about doing anything on Saturday? I know I'll be out of town again, so.
I think we'll be there. I mean, I think we should do it. And if anybody has questions, we want to, I mean, it's been a great process. I think it's been really helpful for the people who've come. And frankly, it's been really good for us to hear the questions, and earlier on, we were able to make some tweaks. And I think that it's absolutely worth doing. So I'll make sure I'm there on Saturday.
All right, so Saturday, 10 to 12. John, you get that all put out so everybody's aware. And
Yeah, if we can get the language together, tomorrow, I'd love to send out another email blast kind of a week out for everybody to say, okay, hey, this is coming at you. And, again, I feel like the email list I thought it was great. We had 250 some odd email addresses on there. It just feels like we're not hitting the mark. So we'll do what we can with what we've got, and hopefully, that will help. I know there's a number of letters to the editor going in. There's a great article I think that will be drafted in part of the Lincoln County News on Wednesday, which should be really helpful in terms of educating. I worry it might be too late in the process, but hopefully, there's a lot of great information they'll be able to take from the interviews that Tor and Rem. Was it Rem with you, Tor? Yeah. So hopefully there's some great stuff in there that people can draw from. And the other thing I'd say just real quick is there's a tendency for private citizens to perhaps read code and think that they have a great handle on it, and really it's a pretty specified skill set that folks like code enforcement officers have. And so while I appreciate that there's certainly individuals who have their own takes on these things, there's only a few of us who are trained to have these kind of conversations. And so I'd certainly urge anyone who has questions or things that don't sound right or don't seem right to contact the town office, contact one of the selectmen, because it's a little bit disconcerting to have, I'm standing in the back of the room as that conversation was happening at the end of the public hearing. And it's just really disconcerting that, there's information out there that's not coming from the town office, and it's not a true shake of how it would, not only what it says, but also how it will be applied. And I think, certainly Tor and Rob and Wanda were part of the zoning committee, and Joel was part of the NLPC. And, there could be differences of opinion amongst the four of you, and even Brian jumping in. Brian may have a different take on these things. But there's a certain art and science that goes to this, and I appreciate the effort the five of you have put in to try to make this code work and put it before the voters in a way. I mean, you give a lot of time to make this happen, and I hope our voters appreciate that, because it has made for a better process. It's as good of a process as you're going to see that any small town is capable of. So I hope it works. I hope people feel informed, make whatever decision they want, but at least feel like they have the opportunity to make the right decision. So just my 2 cents in terms of my soapbox.
So John, when you do your little email blast, can you do a Facebook blast too? Again, I'm happy to share it. I have a lot of friends that live in this part of Newcastle, so I'm happy to share it onward.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. So usually what happens, the email MailChimp that we use is hooked into our Facebook feed, and so it will post directly to that feed. And so if you see that pop up on that page, just feel free to share it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, whoever else. And I think hopefully people will use that. It has been a great tool that we've used during storms and early days of COVID. People were checking it and communicating on it. It was a great tool. But it's only as good as the people who are checking it and looking at it. So that'd be great, Wanda. And if the rest of you know, whether you or spouses or kids or whoever are on there, feel free to share it as wide as needed. And by the way, just saw that the LCTV video is up on their website now, and so I've also shared that to the Facebook page as well. So if people are looking for that and they don't regularly catch it on cable, they can watch it on there. I would say that some of the audio isn't so great when near the end of the meeting. In particular, some folks were not necessarily going up to the microphone, and so it was a little harder to catch. But hopefully, I think it'll actually be easier to hear the board and the planning board and everyone and those who are asking the questions on the video than it was actually the night of. So maybe that will be helpful for those who were either there and couldn't hear or what have you. I think it'll be a step forward.
Great. Yeah, so again, we'll just ask everybody to show up Tuesday night, the 29th at 6 at Foster's, and put their vote in. It's the only way we're going to keep the town moving forward and make Newcastle so it can start to regrow, because it's been stifled so much for so many years. Oh,
I'd just like to say that in the 5 years I've been on the board, this is the proudest I've been to sit on a board. I think the five of us have all worked really hard to make this happen. We've had some really great discussions. We've had to make really hard decisions on how to do this. And I can't imagine, a better board to do this and accomplish this in this time and come up with such a great solution. And we all deserve, that sort of recognition amongst ourselves that we've done really the best we can. And it's been a really positive experience for me. Sometimes on boards, things can get kind of negative, and this has been a real positive experience. And, we all have the best interests of the town at heart, and that's why we're doing this. There's no hidden agendas with us. There's no, sneaky little thing. We're really trying to do what we can and do something that's good for Newcastle and that's in the best interest of Newcastle. And I just want to thank everybody for doing it and for having open discussions and for responding in such a good constructive way. So that's my piece.
Thanks, Joel.
yeah. Very nice, Joel. Great. Again, just if you got any questions left on the code, contact town office. Come see us Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Saturday.
Yeah.
And show up to vote on Tuesday. So great. If everybody's good, we can wrap this up tonight. 20 of 8.
7:39.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thanks, Rob. All in favor? Good night, all.
Night.
Good night.